Hi, welcome to Astrology for Gann Traders. My name is Olga Morales. Now, today I'd like to thank all my new followers and all the great comments I've had since my last video about the Mighty 4 at 4. And I know a lot of you have actually been inspired to be looking at your midpoints, and that's the whole point of my video. But today I'm going to be looking at something that's actually happening today on the 4th of July. And to coincide with the 250 years of American independence. Now, if Gann was around, obviously he would be looking at this cycle. And today, if I move my slide, you can see that today on the 4th of July, we have two planets. We've got Mars conjunct Uranus. Now, remember from my previous video, I was talking about the alignment that we've got with Pluto and Jupiter forming opposite to Pluto, but also a sextile to Neptune. So this is the special sort of alignment that is happening, which I've called the Holy Grail. Some people have called the bucket, or even a cradle. But now what's happened is that we've got a faster moving planet, which is Mars. Mars is actually activating this whole structure. Okay, but it's in the sign of Gemini. Now, this is going to be important for all those people who follow me because of W.D. Gann and my work, because this is very special. Okay, so astrologers tend to argue about what the accurate rising sign of the United States is. But because of my work with W.D. Gann, I was able to sort of decode one of his charts, that he had a chart with the Columbus's sighting of the United States, the New York Stock Exchange, and he had two Chicago Board of Trade charts all around. So he had literally had a bi-wheel, but not a bi-wheel, a quad wheel. And then around the outside, he had the oppositions and conjunctions of all the outer planets. Of course, he would be looking exactly at what I'm looking at the moment. Okay, so what I was able to do was with the magnifying glass, I found the actual degree that he had for the moon for the 4th of July. And with that degree, I was able to rectify the ascendant. And so I found the time. And I thought, wow, this is an unusual time. But I will explain more as I get into it. I found that the same time was used by the astrologer called Evangeline Adams, because I bought Karen Christino's book called What Evangeline Adams Knew. Sorry, I can't show you because my camera's not working. And in that book, she actually had the exact time that I rectified. So either, now, if you never heard of Evangelina Adams, she was a famous astrologer in New York, the same as Gann. I think she was born only 10 years before him. And she was reportedly J.P. Morgan's astrologer, okay? And I'm pretty sure Gann knew her. I mean, you know, New York astrologers, they all would have known each other. Now, it's interesting that they're using the same time for that day, for the 4th of July. Now, in Tunnel Through the Air, Gann talks about he was a Gemini. The main character's a Gemini, and he talks about, there's on one of the pages, it talks about the sign of Gemini, ruled by Mercury, the messengers, who astrologers say is the rising sign of the United States. So he's telling you, okay? So this is why this is so special, and I've made a video about it because I want to show you what's happening. Last time, why Gemini is important for the United States. That's what I'm trying to get across, okay? So what I did was I went back, and you can keep going back and back every 84 years, 84 to 90 years, because remembering planets when they go retrograde and then they go direct, it takes them longer to get in and out of the sign, okay? So the last time, 84 years ago, last time Mars was conjunct Uranus in Gemini was between 1943 and 1947, okay? If you look at all the dates here, this is what I got from Solar Fire, you can see all these dates. I'm not going to go through every date, it will take too long. This is something you can look at yourself, but you can see that they were going through, started at 8 Gemini, then it went retrograde into 5, 16 and 24 Gemini. Okay, now, if you look back at history just quickly, This is when there was the atomic age, the rise of radar and aviation, obviously, the creation of the CIA, the US Air Force, and also America became one of the world's dominant in technology power, right? It appears to coincide, a Mars Uranus in Gemini, coincide with periods of revolutionary breakthroughs in communication, intelligence, transport, and military technology. Obviously, it was part of during the World War, and I think this one here in the 18th of August 1944-45 was the end. The bombing of Hiroshima was, I think, the week before. Okay, so that was right in that atomic age time. But people can look back at these now. Now, as I said, today we've got it's conjunct. Okay, at 3 degrees 52. But then it'll come back on the 24th of June, 2028 at 11 Gemini. Then on the 15th of June, the 19 Gemini. And then on the 7th of June, 2032, it'll be at 26 Gemini. Isn't it interesting that the next three passes are all in the month of June, obviously because the sun's going to be in Gemini as well. Isn't it interesting? It's Gann. I have to show you. This is amazing because he was, a Gemini. So let's have a look. Gemini is everything to do with communication, language learning, networks, transport, aviation, satellites, telecommunications, commerce, algorithms, AI, robotics, software, nervous system, and duality and the twins, right? But look at this. So what I want to show you, the 15th of June, 2030, look at this. We've got Saturn, Mercury, the South Node, Mars, Uranus, and the Sun all in Gemini. Incredible, right? At the same time, though, Pluto is in Aquarius. Oh, the camera's back. Talking about Mercury being retrograde at the moment, okay? So I don't know how long I'm going to be on the screen. We'll see. So you can see that, let me move myself. Hold on, how do I do that? Here. Let me move myself over here. Okay, so you can see that Pluto is trine to obviously all this stellium. When we've got more than 4 planets, or even sometimes 3, it's called a stellium, right? So this is full on air energy. But you can still see that it's sextile to Neptune. Okay, they're still in that nice pattern that's not going away, as I explained in my previous video. It's going to be there for a long time. So this is it's funny because I think I've called it the Great Convergence. There was another Great Convergence all the time. There was one in Taurus. There was a huge one in Pisces. So this is all to do with air, the mind, and communication. Then on the 7th of June, 2032, again, we've got even the moons in this one. The moon, the sun, Venus, Saturn, Mars, Uranus are all in Gemini. Now, Mercury's just moved out. He would have been there, a couple of days before. Again, this is a huge stellium, okay? And again, this time, even Jupiter is in Aquarius with Pluto, and they're forming a trine to all this air. So we've got a lot of air. Jupiter and Pluto, and Neptune obviously still forming that nice sextile to both of these. That what I've called the Holy Grail is still active here. Okay, now when I looked at this, I'm thinking it's incredible. I was just thinking, I always think about the children that are going to be born with all this energy in Gemini. They're going to be absolutely amazing. Probably can't, they'll be talking a lot though, a lot of energy, and yeah, probably hard to keep them in one spot. And geniuses, mathematics, just something incredible. Okay, so next slide. So I've I really think this is really could be called the tunnel through the air, like Gann's coded novel, because there's so many planets in air signs. It's incredible. So we know that Aquarius rules technology and the collective humanity, science, innovation, and the future. Now, the fact that we've got a Jupiter Aquarius emphasis suggests ideas moving rapidly through society rather than remaining in isolated discoveries. Okay, instead of thinking war, I think the symbolism would be, how does humanity communicate differently after this? Huge changes. Okay, maybe things that we can't imagine. I just think that yeah, things will be like magic. You know, the word imagination, it's got magi in it, which is magic. Things that you can't explain. I think that's what we're going to be seeing. So here's Gann's chart. Now I'll show you Evangeline Adams' book now that I've got video. Uh, okay, that's what it's called. Karen Christino. What what Evangelina Adams knew. It's really great if you want to look back at some of her forecasts that she did. I don't want to give too much away, but it's a great book. Yeah, so this is the time. Yeah, 3:03 a.m. in Philadelphia on the 4th of July. And what it does, it actually puts Mars in Gemini rising. Okay? And you can see Uranus is in Gemini. This is like the return of Uranus to where it was when there was the independence. It's happening, right? So yeah, and this is when what I did was I found the moon sign in Gann's chart, and it fitted exactly to Evangelina Adams' actual time. So there's something happening there. So to all the astrologers out there, this is why I use the Gemini rising chart. I'm following my mentor, W.D. Gann, and for him, you know, he was heavy into esoteric. He was a high degree Mason. He talks about Gemini and tunnel through the air, that's the ruling sign in the United States. And so this is what I use. Okay. Next slide. So what happens, I've just done here, sorry for people that are starting out with astrology, but this is what Gann was doing in his hand-drawn chart. We're lucky we can just make a dial up here. So the center here, what I've done is I've overlapped the 16th of January 1944, when the Mars was conjunct Uranus last time, okay? And then I've put another, which is in the future, on the 15th of June 2030, when they're also conjunct, part of the stellium. You can see they'll be in 19 degrees. Okay, so now that's going to be, if you remember, the rising degree of the United States is actually 20 degrees of Gemini, okay? And Saturn happened to be there in 1944, exactly on that point. And we know what was happening in 1944, right? So this is critical for the United States. I don't want to say too much because I'll probably make more videos on this topic, but for now I'm just showing you how astrologers study cycles. As Gann said, the future is but a repetition of the past. Some people, it says it just rhymes, it's not a repeat, but there's themes that repeat. Okay, and then I've done the same, and I've gone to the 7th of June 2032, and you can see again we've got Saturn, Mars here, and the Uranus. They're all in the same area. The fact is that Saturn is also in Gemini, as it was in the 1944. Okay, so it's not just the Uranus coming back to Gemini, it's also the Saturn coming back. So this is huge. Look at all this energy going through Gemini here. Okay, so yeah, it puts the United States in focus. Okay, if we use this Gemini rising chart as Gann was, and if we don't, a lot of people use Sagittarius rising. You can still see that it will have a huge stellium on the other side, which is actually, you know, they say your enemies on this side, open enemies. secret enemies in the 12th house, open enemies, or it can be other nations. So there's usually something on this side. Okay, so what I've done here, I've put the actual Gann's 4th of July chart. We can see the 20 degrees of Gemini rising, just to get a clear picture of all these alignment here, because that's exactly what Gann was doing on his hand-drawn chart. And so I have to continue doing what he was doing, because that's what I've dedicated the last 22 years of my life to this work, right? So yeah, so this alignment here. It's a lot of energy in Gemini, putting the United States in focus, and also the world, because we're all going to experience it on a whole, obviously. And some places in the earth they're going to have it aspecting their charts more than others. Like you can do a big, a more thorough study of this. Okay, so the next slide, what could all this mean in terms of the Jupiter and Pluto also in Aquarius, the same time as this huge stellium in Gemini, right? So we know that Jupiter expands, Pluto transforms, and together they can correlate with great changes in society. So in Aquarius, they could be obviously AI. AI is going to grow and becoming part of everyday life. Quantum computing, major computing breakthroughs that we can't even imagine yet. I don't think so. Space-based communication, but I think space travel, new internet. I don't know how that's going to change completely. We probably don't. I have no idea, but it's something that we haven't seen yet. Okay. Global education, robotics, medical technology, brain-computer interfacing, which is already happening, but I think that will continue. New economic systems, which I believe will just be the big global digital ID that they all want to do. And scientific discoveries that reshape accepted knowledge. This is where I think we, as a whole, our awareness, I kept talking about the Great Awakening, but I think that, well, more people with all this air are tapping into different dimensions. It's like going on a big trip, maybe psychedelics. I don't think we're going to need psychedelics. I just think the frequency of the earth will change, that we start tapping into those stars up here. Obviously a lot of this could be disclosure. I know they're trying to stop that from happening, but this is definitely to do, obviously, with the space and UFOs, and yeah, so it's incredible what could possibly happen. I mean, write to me, put some comments there and see what you think this could all be. Now, as you know, I've done these sort of things before. We can then use those planets positions and superimpose them on the world map. Okay, astrocartography, and basically it shows you, because now we've got this stellium, we've got a huge band of what's called Gemini, and of course that's going to fall on particular places on the world, right? When we superimpose it. And this is geodetic chart. So you can see that this on stellium here is all over, sorry, culminating, I should use proper terminology, culminating over this part. So we've got India, Iran, and all this area in here, okay, parts of that. Then we have it sort of rising over the coast here, okay, of Africa. And then in Australia, we've got it on the descendant going through East Australia, eastern side. And then for the United States, it goes right through the middle part, pretty much, of the United States, nearly all of it, okay? And through Washington is Neptune in that area there. So this puts focus on these places. And what it means for us in the future, that could be, once we start getting closer to it, we can start saying, okay, but definitely the United States, when it's on the IC, this is the earth, the ground, the people, okay, agriculture, and it puts it into focus. Whereas when it's on the culminating, it's to do with the government, more to do with the public rather than the private areas, but this is more to do with the land. Okay. And then this is the 15th of June 2030. This is the 7th of June 2032. Okay. Similar alignments. Okay. They've only moved a little bit because the planets are still in those positions. Okay. So it's going to be interesting to see how this plays out. I know it's a few years away, but isn't it funny how they call that big agenda 2030? Okay. And I can't remember the date when the CERN, you know how they've just turned off CERN a couple of days ago, and apparently it's supposed to be turned on again. But I don't remember the date off the top of my head right now. Maybe someone can tell me. Does it fit in with this? Because, nothing's a coincidence these days. I know they know these alignments. And isn't it funny how, Gemini comes up a lot, with software and the twins and everything. Yeah, so if you read Tunnel Through the Air, I think this is a real tunnel through the air. This might have been something Gann was looking into. Ignore. Okay. So you can still hear my voice. It's just that I've disappeared again. I've gone through the ether. Actually, I'm thinking this alignment could be like, a big Stargate opening. It's almost like there's a vortex energy happening here, okay? So just to wrap up, last time Mars and Uranus met in Gemini, the world witnessed radar, code-breaking, jet propulsion, atomic age, and the birth of modern intelligence agency, right? The CIA, spies. If the conjunctions of 2030 and 32 occur beneath one of the greatest Gemini stelliums of our lifetime, supported by Jupiter and Pluto in Aquarius, what will humanity invent next? Will it be AI, quantum communication, space transportation, or something we can't even imagine? And I think also a lot of people are talking about, a revolution in the medical fields. Maybe we get access to 0 point energy that's been hidden since, Tesla already had the ability to do that. So, yeah, space travel. I think of the Jetsons, we might be flying in little craft above cities. Who knows? But, yeah, it's just like interesting to think about what all this could be. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed that. There's so much more I could have done, but 20 minutes is heaps. So if you're interested in more, I'm going to be doing, when I get inspired, I see something, I'll record. I don't do it like regularly, but it's when I see something that I would like to actually study. So my interests, obviously astrology, ancient mysteries. I travel the world looking. I've got, and sacred geometry, obviously W.D. Gann, hidden history and planetary cycles. That's what my focus is. I've got so many books in my library over the last, I don't know, 30 years.